So I'm here with Nicholas, and we're going to step into the main gallery. I have really quite an honor in introducing this work tonight because it's a very special show indeed. And as it were, Nicholas's premiere solo show. We have largely dedicated the entire small gallery to this extraordinary new series by Nicholas Hay, titled Strategies for Sanity. Very appropriate commentary on these last months and where we all have been as a collective. So maybe you could drive us a little bit, Michael, just into some close-up detail, and then we'll kind of pan back and forth. There again is reason to encourage all of our viewers to step into the gallery to experience this work, because it shows so beautifully as a series the subtlety of color, the intricacy of the work, the design is something to experience in person. We do get a little bit of glare tonight, so please forgive us. Just the nature of
quite a lot
the light and this time of day. But Nicholas, if you would perhaps just lead us a little bit through the journey of the creation of this series. It's been mostly created over the last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, exclusively. Yeah.
Exclusively over the last year. So it's really been quite an outpouring for you, really quite an extraordinary, sort of forward movement of work, of doing this.
Yes, it was. It seemed like necessary to have something to fixate on in the last year. I follow politics quite closely, so there was a lot to be disturbed by. So this was kind of a refuge for me. And I found them quite calming to do. Mm. And so I just kept going with them, and I just used all the paper I had hanging around and ordered some more inks and got busy.
Yeah. And tell me, when you began your process and you would sort of sit with the blank sheet, so to speak, what compelled you first to put ink to paper? I mean, how does this piece begin, and how does its life begin with all the intricacy and subtlety to it?
Yeah, I mean, there are three basic stages for each piece. The blank page is filled with the background is done with inks on what they call wet on wet. So the paper is wetted, and then the inks are put in layers for the background, which is quite abstract. And then I let them dry, and then the calligraphy or the line is then done the next stage, and then the inking, rather like a comic book in a way, then the inking is done last. And it's quite difficult to see in this instance because of the reflections, that I would encourage people, if they are local, maybe they want to pass by if they've got 10 minutes to fill. The inking is done last, and that's the filling in of each of the calligraphy marks,
the geographic,
the little triangles and then the kind of the lines of pattern. They're all done at the last stage.
You and I had a wonderful conversation a couple of days ago. We talked in depth about your work, and we talked about sloppy geometry.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it later, and I thought, no, it's not sloppy geometry. it's more the great chaos of geometry in a way, and the human element.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that in your work, and I see a very meditative quality.
Yeah.
But occasionally there's a little something that sort of, really comes out, whether it's just, one's own visceral response to pattern and image and geometric form. But talk to me about sloppy geometry.
Well, I mean, I think I should say that I think that particular construction is owed to Howard Hodgkins, the British painter. I think that's where it came from. But it jumped out at me when I was listening to an interview with him. I just thought, that's what I'm doing in a way. It's kind of sloppy geometry. I mean, you could do these if they're hand drawn and they're done without markings or pencil lines. So it's a freehand. So that is slightly sloppy. They're not perfect.
The beauty of it.
Well, that's what I like about them, because they're kind of, I mean, broadly speaking, I reflected on these and I came to the conclusion that I was probably trying to make order out of the chaos I felt. I didn't think that at the time, but when I stand in this room and look around, that sort of hits me that's kind of what I was trying to do.
Right.
And it was successful because I found them very calming to do. And it was really a kind of a place that I could enter and get lost in and couldn't think of anything else, because they actually require quite a lot of concentration, because ink is very unforgiving, especially in the last stage. If you make a mistake, you have to start again. And I did have to bin a few of them. So
heartbreaking.
Yeah, so you just hopefully that doesn't happen on the last
last
of the last. Yeah.
I know. Oh,
yeah. So.
Excruciating, actually. We talked about this wonderful botanical pigment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about that again.
Yeah, I was looking. I had bought a lot of acrylic inks, and I had one ink that was made from walnut husks, shells, which had a really nice quality to it, and so I looked into botanical. I just kind of Googled botanical inks, and there was a company in England that had made a sort of suite of different colored inks from a particular tree, a very old oak tree called the council oak in Shropshire.
Yeah,
somewhere
where
like,
they have these heritage, amazing
oaks. They have these very old oaks, century-old oaks, and they had gathered the acorn caps, the leaf, the bark, and they had added different sort of, like they added iron to darken them and come out with this, what I thought was like a really nice range of color, really of tone. And so I got those and I used them for these pieces. And it kind of made me think about that and kind of look into making my own inks, which I started to do.
Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe we'll do something else with those. But the botanical inks have a really subtle feel to them, and when you layer them, they're very subtle and very tonal in a way that acrylic inks are not, or even Indian ink. They're more watery, so you have to put lots of layers on, but they produce a kind of real depth and sort of a subtlety, which I thought was good.
That's so extraordinary. Michael, will you swing us around and into a few of the views down the length of the gallery? Just the series just presents so beautifully. I mean, one would be lovely in a home, but a series of them would, have an entirely different impact. I particularly enjoy, given our shared heritage, that you were able to bring a bit of England into this work.
Yeah, I was happy with that.
And sort of, kind of ancient England.
Yeah, exactly.
Our sort of old England in that sense. But yet these are startlingly modern works, while at the same time feeling quite primitive.
Yeah, I think that was part of it. Again, unconsciously, I don't, didn't really think about that, when I was doing them. But I kind of bounce off what people say about them. And Lisa Kaplan always said they looked like parchment or old documents, which I kind of ran with and thought, oh right, yeah, that is part of it. So, there's probably a little bit of a cry against the sort of modernity of things and a kind of sort of trusting of ancient things. I don't know. I mean, I can't quite articulate it, but that's in there somewhere. That definitely, I like the fact that they look old and like maybe they were buried somewhere or kind of have that patina.
They do. They absolutely do. And this is, again, encouraging our viewers to come and look at this work. In some of the, well, in fact, almost all of them, there are metallic sheens, as well as the very soft, muted colors, as well as the deep, rich botanical pigment. And so together, there's just such a harmony of form and color coming together, and they're very engaging, and I could stand here pretty effectively most of the evening, I think, going systematically one by one by one, and engaging with them. They do have that sort of incredible sort of interactive power about them.
Well, I hope that they kind of require, but I wanted people to kind of like, move into them and do that. So they're quite detailed, and I hope they pull the viewer in. They do that. They do have that effect. To me, it's almost like there's stuff if I look at them, I kind of can discover stuff that I wasn't really aware of when I was doing them.
Well, perhaps even thought process that returns to you when you were in the midst.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, it was sort of, you mentioned the word meditative before. I mean, I think that's really accurate. And anyone who knows anything about meditation is that the kind of point is an empty mind. So but there was a certain kind of suspension of narrative thought when I was doing them. I just put on music without lyrics and just get into a kind of zone, which was, as I mentioned before, felt calming in the chaos of this country, what this country was going through last year and at the beginning of this year.
And we're moving through. You had mentioned also that when you came to the end of this series, well, you knew that there was a quite definitive stopping point, and you knew that you were done and it was complete. And
I mean, exhaustion maybe, but no, I mean, I think most people that create work feel that they have a kind of obviously elements of one's creativity extend from one project to another, but there does seem to feel like a beginning, a middle, and an end. That's done. I've had some experience with etching, and I studied etching for a while and kind of went through a phase of that. I don't know whether it's other people or whether it's just me, but I tend to kind of get super interested in something and then it kind of fades. And then at some point you have to say, okay, what's the next thing? Yeah.
So you do. It's, I suppose, how we grow, but it's also where we seek a certain comfort and completion.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, for sure. I definitely felt like when I'd finished, there are a few more that I didn't frame. So probably 20 of these. By the time I'd finished 20 of them, I was just like, before this turns into strategy for insanity, I think I should stop and probably do some big painting. That's kind of what I want to do next. It's just like move my arm.
The extreme opposite.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Keep both sides of the brain working. Well, it's really an incredible group of work. I'm fascinated to see what you will be doing next, but I am really living with and thoroughly enjoying this group of work by Nicholas Hayes, Strategies for Sanity.